So today we're talking about determining your calorie deficit or your calorie surplus. But first, let's talk about maintenance, because this is a place I think a lot of people should try to spend more time in than a deficit or a surplus. Meaning, you want to be giving your body the appropriate amount of energy to support your daily activities more often than not. Maintenance. Basically, it's staying at your total daily energy expenditure that we already went over. So essentially, the calories that you would be taking in per day that would have you staying at the same weight you are currently at. Now, it is possible to recomp here. And by recomp, I mean you could be losing some body fat and increasing muscle mass. Now, this becomes a little bit easier for people who are newer to the lifting or workout game than those who have already been in it for quite a long time. So if you've been lifting or working out for quite a long period of time, just recomping is a little bit tougher. Okay, so now that you've understood what your maintenance is, let's talk about a deficit. So a deficit is simply eating less than your total daily energy expenditure. So you have less energy coming in than what's going out. Surplus. Now, this doesn't mean going completely crazy and bulking all the time, but it really just simply means eating more than your total daily energy expenditure. So you've got a little more energy coming in than you have going out. Keep in mind, this isn't, stagnant, right? Every day, your metabolism's a little bit different, and your maintenance or your total daily energy expenditure is changing from day to day. That could be just slightly or by quite a bit, okay? So do remember, you may not always have the exact calories the same here. First and foremost, when you are trying to decide if you're going to go into a calorie deficit, a surplus, or stay at maintenance, you want to assess your biofeedback and your goals, okay? What I mean by that is, what's your goal? If your goal is to, see a little bit more definition, have that athletic look, lose a little body fat, maybe put on some muscle, then you want to take a look at maybe not going into a deficit right away, but understanding if you need to stay out of maintenance for quite a little bit of time, or a surplus so that you can put on a little bit of muscle mass and achieve that look that you're going for. Now, if you're someone who has a goal of losing some total body weight or just body fat, then you would look at going into a deficit and eating a little bit less. Then we want to take a look at that biofeedback. Okay, you want to make sure that everything is functioning well on the inside, because the physiological kind of plays the biggest role in the physical, right? So everything on the outside is going to determine what's happening on the inside. So you want to make sure that you're getting the proper amount of sleep, that you are having proper digestion, that your energy is up, right? Your mood is elevated. You don't want to go into a deficit and start dieting when all of this is already down in the gutter. That's really important, because you have to have all of this, the biofeedback and your goals going together, right? You want it to be in alignment. When we go and talk about the deficit, you want to decide, do you want to be a little more conservative and have it take a little bit longer? Or do you want to be more aggressive? Now, this would be something that maybe you go for a shorter period of time and you see a little bit more weight loss or fat loss, and then you take yourself back up to a maintenance. If you're being a little more conservative, maybe you're doing a bit of a recomposition where you are maintaining that muscle mass and losing body fat. So what you can do here is decide. For a conservative approach, you would subtract 5 to 10% of your total daily energy expenditure. If you want a more aggressive approach, you'll subtract 15 to 25% of your total daily energy expenditure. Let's look at an example. If you've done your calculations that we've gone over in the previous video about basal metabolic rate and total daily energy expenditure, and your TDEE, total daily energy expenditure, came out to 2,000 calories a day, and you wanted to take a conservative approach. Maybe you still want to feel really good in the gym working out. You want to try to hit some PRs. You want to maintain good energy. Maybe you've got a lot of stress, so you don't, you like to have a little more food, especially on the weekends. Maybe you're going to subtract 10%. Well, that's kind of nice, not too bad. You're just subtracting 200 calories a day from that 2,000. That gives you 1,800 calories a day. Over time, you should begin to see some body composition changes. Maybe you want to be a little more aggressive. So maybe we take 2,000 times 20%. We'll be subtracting 400 calories from that. That's going to give you 1,600 calories a day that you'll be working with. How about a surplus? So surplus is a little bit different. Muscle growth is a little bit slower and harder to achieve than fat loss, okay? You don't just want to say, I'm gonna be really aggressive and add 20 to 25% of my calories a day and just hope it all comes from muscle. Quite often, this can also come from more fat. So we wanna mitigate that. A general kind of guide or rule of thumb, if you're just trying to, go from a maintenance into a surplus and mostly put on muscle, you would add 100 to 200 calories if you're an intermediate or advanced person. Remember how I kind of talked about recomposition is a little bit more challenging with someone who's already well trained and been doing it for a while. So here's where that comes into play. You're only going to be increasing your calories by a small amount. So an example here, if you're still that 2,000 calorie person, you wanted to look into putting on a little more muscle, getting stronger, really feeling good, building up your metabolism. You can add about 200 calories a day. That gives you 2,200 calories to work with. Now, if you're newer to this and you're a beginner, lifter, and you want to put on a little more muscle, gain more strength, you could get a little bit more aggressive here and add, 150 to 300 calories a day. So if we look at an example of that, you're the 2,000 calorie person, you can add, you could go up to 2,150 all the way up to 2,300 calories a day, and you would probably be okay mostly putting on muscle and mitigating the fat gain, as long as you're performing enough resistance training and exercise to make sure that those calories are going towards muscle mass. I think, yes, so the most maybe you would go up to, if you're a beginner, maybe 2,300, okay? Now do understand that when you go into a surplus, we can't control specifically if the body puts those calories towards fat or muscle, but how we can help to make sure the body is utilizing those calories a little better is to make sure that you're, really focusing on some of the lifting that is programmed in the GS30, GS60, GS60 plus, and that's really going to help make sure that your body is stimulated and receiving that message that it needs to use those calories towards building up muscle. So that's how you're going to determine your calorie deficit or your surplus.